Hey guys, today we're going to do a board replacement and I'm going to show you some of the tools, the tips, tricks, techniques to do just a simple board replacement on an engineered nail down floor. So we'll hop to it. Okay, so today we're going to do a board replacement specifically on this engineered 3/8 thick pre-finished floor. The first step that we want to do in any board replacement, seems obvious but it's easy to forget, is make sure you have replacement material. So I've already picked out my replacement board. It's going to be the same size as the board that I take out. Obviously, if you're doing a solid floor, you're going to have to find a piece that's a little bit bigger than the hole and chop it to length, which really doesn't add that much extra. I'm going to be using my track saw, my Makita track saw. It's one of my favorite tools in my box. The specific features that I like about it, especially for doing a board replacement, one, it's dust contained. So I'm gonna hook this up to a vacuum when we actually do the sawing. It's gonna pull 90% of the dust out instead of flinging it across the floor. Two, we're going to be able to set our depth on this saw, not go down into the subfloor too far. Three, we're going to have a track that this is going to follow, which is going to give us a good, straight, precise cut. Four, this track is going to prevent the saw from actually sliding on the wood and possibly scratching other pieces that are around the piece that we're taking out. The first thing that you're going to want to determine is which side the tongue is on. Take a look around the edge of the floor and see which way the tongue is pointing in the floor. That's the side that we're going to want to make sure and cut out first. The first thing we want to do with our track saw is we want to adjust the depth of the cut. I want to make sure and do this on top of the piece I'm replacing so I don't scratch the pieces around it. I'm going to drop that saw down until it's just touching the piece, and I know now I'm going to be sawing the thickness of the flooring. My first cut that I make here along the tongue side, I am going to, if possible, make that so that I clip and cut all of the fasteners, the staples or the cleats that are in that floor. So obviously the thinner the material is, the closer to the tongue you're going to cut. If this was a thick 3/4 inch floor, we would back off of that tongue a little more than we will with this engineered floor. But with this floor, I'm going to get up to about 3/8 to 1/4 of an inch off of the side of the board. So I can mark that, I can eyeball it, either way. On this, we're just going to put a mark in there at about the 1/4 inch mark, right off that tongue. So now that we've got that mark on there, we can set up our track. I'm gonna flip on my vacuum and then I'm gonna start sawing. That's the most precise cut that we're gonna make because we just wanna be right off that tongue. We wanna clip those fasteners and make sure that we'll be able to pull it out freely without having to fight against those fasteners. Now, we'll wanna make another cut along the back side of this board. That doesn't have to be nearly as precise as this first cut. So we're gonna make one cut along the back of this board, and then we're gonna make an angle cut here, just anywhere in here, so that we'll be able to pull it out and you'll see that. So I'm just gonna come along the back side of this board right there. So now we've got the cuts made in the floor, and we've got a front cut, back cut, and then a diagonal between the two. So the next step will be to take a chisel and we're going to break out this corner, the end of this cut, the end of this cut. Once we get that separated, we'll be able to start pulling out the pieces. So now that I've got that cracked, we should be able to take a combination of chisel and pry bar and pull these pieces out of the floor. So we just want to be careful and not pull it up too far, or else we'll end up breaking off the tongue or the groove of the board next to the one we're pulling out. So we just want to be careful and kind of work this out from the end. Here's the part we need to be careful of. Taking out these two edges because we don't want to damage the adjacent tongue or the groove. Now that we got that out, let's clean up the hole because we want to get down to the subfloor underneath. So we're just going to cut that out on all four edges. Okay, so now the goal is, because we're going to be gluing the replacement board in, what we want to do is we want to make sure the subfloor is clean. What I do is I just take a scraper, just a normal wood scraper, and then we're just going to take this and scrape that down to the raw subfloor. Awesome, so we're through the first part of this, which is removing the old board, cleaning up the subfloor, getting ready for our new board to go in. In order to fit this in, we're going to have to do a couple modifications. We're going to have to cut off the tongue on the end, and then we're going to have to cut off the bottom of the groove the whole way around. Okay, so now we've got the board cut. I'm going to take this board now and I just want to dry fit it and make sure that it's the right size. You got to be careful on the groove side that you don't press hard and then crack the top side of that groove. You shouldn't have to just hammer the board to get it in. Remember, this is a thinner floor, so we just want to be real careful. And then once I've got that tapped, I can see it fits perfectly down in there. So now we got the hole, the board, and all we have to do is glue. So now we got the glue in, and we'll just carefully reinsert that board. So now we've got that board in flush. Sometimes you can nail that. Sometimes if it's in the middle of the floor and you don't want to have any finish nails showing, the best thing to do is going to be to just put weights on that until the board dries in place. If you are in a spot where you can put a finish nail in, you can take something like a brad nailer. You can hold down the parts that are sticking up a little bit. And then obviously if you use a nailer, you're going to want to come back with a filler. There we go. That's a board replacement. Hopefully that was a helpful video for you guys, just how to do a quick board replacement. You can also do the same basic process if it's a glue down floor as well. The only thing that changes is how hard it is to pull that board out of the floor and how hard it is to get the tongue side and the groove side away. So you just have to be a little bit more careful. Hopefully that gives you some tips and tricks to just go into a floor and take out a problem board and switch it out.